August 15th, 1945. Four Raidens scrambled to intercept American fighters over Tokyo. 2 hours later, Japan surrendered. The Raiden. 5 years of development. 6 months of combat. One story worth telling. This is that plane. The Tamiya 148 J2M3 Raiden. The Mitsubishi J2M3 Raiden has one of the most dramatic stories in aviation history. A masterpiece that arrived too late. A designer who knew his country would lose. And a final battle fought 2 hours before surrender. I'm going to build it. And along the way, I'll tell you why this plane matters. Starting with the pilot. Tamiya includes 2 figures with this kit, a standing and a seated option. I'm going with your choice. The detail is basic for the era, but with careful painting it holds up well. Most Japanese pilots didn't want to fly the Raiden. They trained on the Zero, light, agile, responsive. The Raiden was heavy, rough running, and it shook at full power. Transitioning felt like going from a sports car to a truck. Some units actually refused to accept them. They'd rather wait for more Zeros than fly an aircraft they didn't trust. The 32nd Kokutai at Atsugi was different. Their commander, Yasuna Kozono, understood what the others didn't. The Zero couldn't touch a B-29 at 25,000 feet. He took every Raiden he could get and built the most effective interceptor unit in Japan. 300 confirmed victories by war's end. The plane they didn't want became the plane that kept Tokyo standing as long as it did. Here's how the kit pilot turned out. The cockpit is where you feel this kit's age. The instrument panel is a flat decal. The tub is wider than it should be. If you want this to look good through the canopy, you'll want to add detail, scratch, built sidewall consoles, wiring, harness straps. One thing that's accurate about the kit, though, the Raiden's cockpit was genuinely roomy for a Japanese fighter. And that wasn't by accident. The man behind this cockpit and the entire aircraft was Jiro Horikoshi, the same engineer who designed the A6M Zero. The Zero was his masterpiece of reduction. He stripped out everything that wasn't essential. Pilot armor, self-sealing fuel tanks, structural weight. The result was an aircraft with extraordinary range and agility, but a pilot with almost no protection if anything went wrong. In 1939, the Navy told Horikoshi to reverse everything he believed in. Build an interceptor that prioritized speed and climb over maneuverability. Heavy armament, 4 20mm cannons. And for the first time in a Japanese fighter, a bulletproof plate behind the pilot. The cockpit I'm building right now represents a fundamental shift in Japanese aviation philosophy. From the mission matters more than the pilot, to we need this pilot to survive and fly again tomorrow. The canopy is a single piece, windscreen and sliding section molded together. If you want to pose it open, you'll need to cut it. I'm keeping it closed. A coat of future floor polish before masking helps keep the tape from fogging the clear parts. Masking the canopy frame is straightforward. The frame lines are well defined on this kit. Visibility was one of the Raiden's biggest complaints from pilots. That long cowling, the distinctive feature that made the plane so fast, also meant the pilot couldn't see much of anything directly ahead during takeoff and landing. Horikoshi's team knew this was a problem. Later variants, the J2M6, redesigned the canopy and shortened the nose to improve the view forward. But the J2M3, the version we're building, kept the original layout. Speed came first. The pilot would have to manage. It's an interesting trade-off to think about while masking this canopy. The same design feature that gave the Raiden its performance is the one its pilots cursed every time they lined up on the runway. The fuselage is where this kit shines. Hold the 2 halves together and you can see the Raiden's signature shape. This torpedo profile, widest at the cockpit, tapering at both ends. Tamiya nailed it. There's a seam along the spine that needs putty. That's the one real fit issue on this build. I'll fill it, sand it back, and rescribe any panel lines I lose in the process. This torpedo shape exists because of a bold engineering decision. and the 5 years of consequences that followed. Horikoshi chose the Mitsubishi Kasei engine, 1,800 horsepower, 14 cylinders, originally designed for heavy jets. Far more power than any Japanese fighter had used before. But a big radial engine means a fat cowling, and a fat cowling means drag. So he buried it, pushed the engine back, connected the propeller through an extension shaft, and narrowed the cowling down to this streamlined point. A cooling fan behind the spinner forced air through the tight space. The result was the shape in my hands right now. Beautiful, fast, and fundamentally broken. Wings go on, clean. The fit at the wing root is good, just a touch of filler where it meets the fuselage. For a kit this age, that's better than some modern releases manage. Dry fit everything before you commit. The dihedral angle should look right from the front. The Raiden's wings had a slight upward angle that gave it stability in the dive, which was critical for its interceptor role. The Raiden's production numbers tell the story of a country running out of everything. Only 621 were built across the entire war. The J2M3, the most produced variant, accounted for about 300 of those. Compare that to over 10,000 Zeros. Part of it was the engine problems delaying mass production for years. But by 1944, the bigger problem was the factories themselves. The Mitsubishi plant in Nagoya was being ruined by the same B-29s the Raiden was designed to stop. By 1945, the quality of aircraft coming off the line had dropped badly. Pilots knew. The late war Raidens ran rougher, leaked more, and broke more often than the early ones. The propeller is a 4-blade unit, necessary because the Raiden's stubby frame meant a conventional 3-blade prop would have been too large in diameter without hitting the ground. The spinner on the Raiden is distinctive, that pointed cone flowing into the narrow cowl. It's one of the cleanest lines on the aircraft. What you can't see behind this spinner is one of the most unusual mechanical arrangements in any 1WFE fighter. The propeller isn't bolted directly to the engine, it's connected through an extension shaft. The engine sits further back in the fuselage, and the shaft runs forward through the narrow cowling to reach the prop. This is what allowed Horikoshi to shrink the nose diameter. The cooling fan sits between the spinner and the engine, pulling air through the tight cowling space. The J2M3 carried 4 20mm Type 99 cannons, 2 in each wing. The kit gives you the gun barrels as separate parts, which is a nice touch for a kit this old. There's also a drop tank included. The Raiden had limited range. It was a point defense interceptor, not a long-range escort. The drop tank extended its loiter time, but these were often jettisoned before combat. 4 20mm cannons was serious firepower for 1944. 2 of them were the longer-barreled Type 99 Mark II, and 2 were the shorter Mark I, different muzzle velocities, which made harmonization tricky. But against a B-29, precision mattered less than volume. Some Raidens were even fitted with oblique, upward-firing cannons mounted in the fuselage. The pilot would fly underneath the aircraft formation and fire upward into the plane's most vulnerable areas. The Germans had the same idea. They called it Schräg Musik. Same concept, different theater. The standard J2M3 scheme is dark green uppers over light grey undersides, black anti-glare panel, yellow wing leading edges. If you look at reference photos, you'll see a wide range of green shades, some nearly black, some with a blue tinge. Late war Japanese paint varied batch to batch. The paint scheme I'm applying represents an aircraft from the 32nd Kokutai, the unit that made the Raiden's reputation. Based at Atsugi just south of Tokyo, the 32nd had the most critical mission in Japan's air defense: stop the B-29s from flaming the capital. The raids changed everything. On the night of March 10, 1945, over 300 B-29s swarmed on Tokyo. The devastation that night was unlike anything the city had ever seen. 16 square miles of the city were destroyed. From Horikoshi's diary, He later wrote that he had never believed Japan would win the war. He'd toured American factories before it started. He knew the scale of what they were up against. Final detailing. This is where the model stops looking like a kit and starts looking like a machine that lived in the world. A dark wash brings out the panel lines and adds depth. I'll follow it with some paint chipping, focused on the wing roots, leading edges, and around the engine access panels. Late war Raidens were hard-used aircraft. The markings on a Raiden tell you where and when it served. The 32nd aircraft carried specific tail codes that identified them as Atsugi-based interceptors. Exhaust staining along the lower fuselage behind the cowl flaps. Thin streaks of dark brown and black, pulled aft. Propeller attached. Antenna wire if you're adding one. Final details. And there it is. The Raiden. August 15th, 1945. 4 Raidens and 8 Zeros scrambled from Atsugi. They found American Hellcats from the USS Yorktown over the Kanto Plain. 4 Hellcats went down. 2 Raidens and 2 Zeros were lost. At noon, the Emperor's voice came over the radio for the first time in history. The war was over. Some officers at Atsugi refused to accept it. There was a brief mutiny at the base. Some officers refused to stand down. It ended without incident. 2 weeks later, General MacArthur landed at the same airfield to begin the occupation. 621 Raidens were built. 1 survives. A J2M3, serial number 314, at the Planes of Fame Museum in Chino, California. It served with the 3020 at Atsugi. After the war, it was shipped to America, passed through a trade school, sat in a park mislabeled as a Zero for years, and was finally rescued by a collector who recognized what it was. Horikoshi survived the war. He taught at universities. He wrote about the Zero. He never designed another fighter. Raiden. Lightning Bolt. This is the second build in the series. If this is your thing, the model and the history together, subscribe. There's more coming.